Hey guys, welcome to 3 and Out. You can check out the podcast below in the description. And here's what I need you to do. Make sure you subscribe to the Volumes YouTube channel to stay up to date to everything we're doing here on 3 and Out and the Volume. Let's dive into Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. And Doc Rivers said something a long time ago in an interview or maybe in a press conference, and it stuck with me forever, that your talent has to exceed your problems. And the moment your talent doesn't exceed your problems and your problems are bigger and worse than what you bring to the table, in pro sports, you're gone. They're done with you. It's easy to deal with a diva if he's LeBron James or Aaron Rodgers. It's another thing if you're a middle-of-the-road quarterback. And let's look at the Browns and Baker. And first and foremost, I have a lot of respect, and I've said this over and over, for all these young guys that come into the NFL and can handle it all. The pressure, winning games, the fame, the money. I can't even imagine, as someone who was pretty immature in his 20s and just didn't quite get it relative to what I'm at now, I can't fathom that. The pressure that the guys like Mahomes, Lamar, Herbert, I think Derek Carr, even Jimmy Garoppolo, these guys for years in their mid-20s, that just the money, it's impressive. I have a lot of respect for the guys that do it the right way, who are well-liked, even when they have flaws as a quarterback, but the team and their teammates and the building really respects them. Now, ultimately, maturity. Listen, we all mature at different ages and at different stages in our life, but at the starting quarterback in the NFL, given the bar now, right? We had Brady, Manning, Breeze forever, and then we have this new crew of guys. Like, the bar's kind of set. Like, that is what it is. Whether it's fair or not, that is the expectation to be, quote-unquote, a franchise quarterback. What it looks like on the field, what it looks like off the field. And let's face it, with that position, they are directly correlated and connected when it comes to a front office, a general manager, an owner. How they judge you, how they believe in you, and the team. How you act on and off the field. You got a ball on the field, and then you got to act like the CEO off the field. Fair or not, that is the requirement. And as Don Draper once said, that's what all the money's for. That's why the guys want to be you, the girls want to be with you, and you have the biggest bank account. Because it's the hardest. It is the most difficult thing to do. Be a good starting quarterback. And then handle all that encompasses. Now, Baker Mayfield went in a draft years ago with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, who are dramatically better than him. But you'd also say Baker Mayfield is better than Sam Darnold that went a couple picks later, and obviously Josh Rosen, who's hanging on by a thread. He's not a scrub. But what Baker is, who's had one good season in the NFL, and let's face it, there weren't any fans that year, so it's a little manipulated, right? This year, he was injured, but I would say this year is closer to who he is than that great year that he had. Again, great would be strong. 26 touchdowns, 8 picks. I think it benefited a lot from the COVID season, the true one, where no fans were in, it was quiet. But one thing can't be disputed. When Chris Mortensen says they are looking for an adult in the room, they're basically calling you a slap. I can't even imagine, if that was said about me, how offended I would be. Anytime in my professional career, when I worked in football, and a scout, just like a player, when I was a graduate assistant for Coach Hill, when I worked with the Eagles, you get called out a lot. Criticism, I don't know what it's like if you're listening in insurance companies, in financial companies, you're getting yelled at a lot. It's very contentious, when you're getting yelled at, you don't like it, but if you react well to it, you don't hate the environment. I thrived in that environment in the sense that I can get yelled at and it motivates me. Now, I'm a human. When you're getting called, it's not good enough. You start questioning, am I going to get fired? What's going on? It's intense, but if you can handle it, you can improve a lot. And honestly, since leaving the NFL, There are certain things that I'm on eggshells about, just basic email protocols. When I'm emailing someone with business deals, I have to reread it 17 times, right? Because I was so terrified to do a bad email to Howie or printing stuff out in terms of the advance reports that have served me well since I've left. I matured a lot in the NFL that carried over to my 30s because of that environment. Some guys, and as a player, you can go two ways. You can either, some guys just come into the league ready for it all, right? You can coach me hard, I'll take it, I'll improve. That's an outlier. Most guys improve. They get better with time. And they handle adversity, or when people, the front office talks shit about them, they handle it and get better. Well, I think the Cleveland Browns thinks that Baker Mayfield, one, is not good enough. And here's a simple reality. The people running the Cleveland Browns, not the owner, but the general manager and the head coach, they had nothing to do with drafting Baker Mayfield. So they have no connection. When you draft a player, you are connected to that player. And you can say, remove the emotion. We're all humans. Unless you're Belichick or Bill Walsh, most people hold on to a draft pick a little bit longer. Well, these guys didn't draft him. And then when they start watching the off-the-field stuff, it's just a pain in the ass. One thing I question, too, is Baker now has been married for a couple years. Usually, if you're with the right woman, I've never been married, but I've been in serious relationships, they make you a better person. They make you actually easier to deal with in other environments. You should become better when you're married. So you have a guy that's married, and yet these people, now his play's not great, but don't view him as an adult. He's not 20, he's 26. Like, that's pretty telling. Like, to me, they are done with him internally. And I just think that Baker Mayfield, at this point in time, is not going to change. Like, he's been through the ringer now for years, and they still don't think he's mature enough? Like, more than likely, it's not coming. Like, he's had adversity. He's had bumps in the road. He's married. It's not like he's running around screwing around with the boys. Well, maybe he is, but, I mean, it's like his life, in theory, should be very well put together. Instead, he's demanding trades. They're saying no. It's just a disaster. And you get in the Baker Mayfield, one thing we've seen, you're in the Baker Mayfield business, and I was a huge fan of him coming out. And I disagreed with Coward. I adamantly did, because I think Colin, I'm like, he's going to be Drew Brees, because I thought he was so awesome in college. And when they took him number 1 overall, I'm like, this guy is going to be so accurate, pinpoint. The separating factor with Drew Brees was the person, was the maturity, was the intelligence, was the EQ. When all these guys retired over the years from the Saints, how they cried, saying they didn't want to let Drew Brees down. So my comparison to Drew Brees is moronic, because you can't separate the player and the person at quarterback. They're interconnected. And Baker, the person, something's off. And Colin should take a victory lap on this, because he hit a home fucking run with the take. Because when Chris Mortensen talks, that comes directly. A lot of reporters get everything from the agent. The big boys, they talk to the GMs, the coaches, and the owners, because that's where the real takes come. The agent, all agenda. The Browns have no agenda. They would die for this guy to be mature and die for him to be good. They don't want to be leaking that this guy's some slap, but that's the case. And when Chris Mortensen talks, that's where he's getting it from. So as of recording this, Baker's still on the team. Listen, they can say they're not going to honor this trade. I think that's more of an F you. You ain't dictating the terms here, buddy. We'll dictate the terms. Will we trade you? I think they will. But not because, quote unquote, he wants to be traded, because they don't want to see him anymore. They don't want him as their quarterback. And when that happens with a younger player who still, he does have some talent, pretty telling. You got your personality when you're around high-level guys, and I think Stefanski's a pretty solid coach. I mean, Andrew Berry's very well. I mean, these are Ivy League guys. It almost feels like they can't stand looking at the guy. Think of the way Tom Telesco talks about Justin Herbert, how Andy and Veach talk about Mahomes. I'm talking the person. How the guys in Buffalo or Harbaugh, they talk about Lamar and Josh Allen. Hell, even Jimmy and Derek, guys that have some flaws. And Derek's a better player than Jimmy. I'd say Jimmy, regardless, just how their teammates talk about those guys. Dak Prescott, it's like they talk about the person first. Not ideal, man. Not ideal. Thanks for watching 3 and Out. You can check out the podcast below in the description. And make sure you subscribe right now to the Volumes YouTube channel.